Business, a person's occupation, profession, or trade. Connection, a relationship in which a person or idea is linked or associated with something else. Welcome to Business Connection. Each week, our program will offer inspiration to navigate the business world. Information you can use to succeed in any field. And we will help you focus on your goals. Join us now for Business Connection with your host, B.C. Clark.
Hello, and welcome to the Business Connection. I'm your host, B.C. Clark. As always, my favorite thing to do is interview business owners across the state and out of state as well. But today my guest is Nicole Lewis. Nicole has written a couple of books, finishing off a couple or whatever, and today she's going to talk a little bit about some of those things and also some interesting things that she's got coming up. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, awesome. So talk to us a little bit about A Girl's Secret.
I forgot to bring my book with me today, but A Girl's Secrets is my memoirs. It's A Girl's Secrets, The Making of a Female Addict. So it takes you through the mindset of a young child up into adolescence, and what is those decisions and those reactions to the things that have happened in my life, how did that transpire into an addiction later on in life?
Wow, that's a lot in that statement. That's a lot. So in unpacking some of that stuff, and I know that you've had classes, you've talked about your book quite a bit, what are the things that you think in that book were the most impactful for other people that have read that book and have come back to you and said certain things about?
Well, one of the biggest things that I didn't think would be impactful was when I was younger, I was tied to a tractor trailer and was drugged by my ankles by my uncle and beaten severely on a regular basis.
Yeah, I would have questions on that as well. I mean, that would be impactful.
Yeah, so
and he got away with that.
He did, as well as raping me at gunpoint.
Wow. Okay, so. And I would think that part would have been gotten. So those were the two things that were most.
So those are, for some people, those two things have been impactful. And then the other one has been, I was a teen mom at 13. So what that journey was like, me going through my high school years and graduating with a 4-year-old. So there's so many different dynamics to the book itself that somebody can find something in anything.
You know, I think it's important because that's a lot of stuff to actually impact, you know. I think, because I've read that book, so I'm not surprised at anything you're saying today, but I'm just trying to help the audience a bit. But it was hard for me to get through it because in knowing you and then knowing that had happened to you, it made me sick in my heart, you know. I just think it's really good and it's courageous for you to write that life story. Because when you think about all those things that you're saying, some people are experiencing that. And, you know, you weren't, you know, and you're not the only one, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that by you getting it out, it allows other people who have stories that are similar to understand that it's okay to tell their story. When I started the MOWBC, the one thing that I always encouraged women to do was to tell their story. And we would have story time in MOWBC when it first started. I want to get back to that. And I would be surprised at how people would allow themselves to be humble enough to share something that was really traumatic in their life. But it seemed like I would watch their faces once they had said it, and even sometimes they would come to tears, but their face was like, wow, I said that out loud. So that was freeing for them. So I know how important it is to tell a story and to be able to get that out. Because it's not that you're trying to say, oh, look at me, I'm a victim. No, you were saying, this happened to me, but look at where I'm at right now. And that's very powerful.
Definitely. The biggest reason why I wrote my book was to start those conversations. Sometimes it's easier to have a conversation when you're reflecting on somebody else's story. And even though it reflects your story, it just makes it that much easier for you to open up that conversation and say, hey, look, this is what has happened to them, and this is what has happened to me.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And a lot of times women don't get to tell their story. They keep it, they hold it, and it's not because they want to hold it. They don't know how to get it out a lot of times. And then it brings embarrassment, it brings guilt, it brings all the things that position put them in, with low self-esteem and all of that. So it's a journey getting through all of those things to be able to even talk about it. So I think sometimes people don't really understand how important it is for them to get that story out and to be free of that. Because once that box is open, then they can heal from the traumatic issues. Because, you have to have healed a little bit in order to be able to talk about it, right?
Definitely, definitely. So I've experienced helping others try to tell their story who have not healed yet. And it's very difficult because it not only opens up their own wounds, but it opens up the wounds of others.
Right.
And if you haven't healed yourself and you open up the wounds for somebody else, you have no idea on how to help them close that wound.
Right. And I think that the good thing, though, is that, internally with women, and we all have mechanisms. And when something traumatic happens, we shut that part off and move forward. The pain and the trauma is still there, and it'll stay there until later in life it comes back to us and we have to deal with it. And so I think that a lot of times when you read a story of someone else's life and you start comparing some things to your life, and even though they may not have been as traumatic, but when anytime you experience trauma, trauma is trauma, pain is pain. And when you can hear the voice of someone talking about their pain, it causes you to look at your pain, right? And sometimes people heal from just that, being able to read that someone wrote about it. And so I think that was a really good thing that you did. So I just wanted to say that. And what's your next book? Because I know you've already started writing it. You don't want to keep this, if you want to keep it secret, then just keep it secret.
So I've actually got 2 more books coming out. So A Woman's Secrets actually takes you through my journey of being a sex addict.
Okay.
And what does that look like? And coming out on the other end. And what does that look like actually getting married and that whole process. So it takes you through.
And you've been married for a long time.
Yeah, going
17?
18 years.
18 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. We got married really young. But life experiences would say that in age-wise and experience-wise, we probably both would be in our 40s when we got married.
Yeah.
Although we were in our 20s.
Especially Leo, okay? Leo's an old soul, so.
Definitely.
But a great guy,
Definitely.
he is a gentleman. You're both of you guys are lucky to have each other because he's really great guy and you're a great girl as well.
I call him my angel all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Savior.
Yeah.
Other than, not you, Jesus.
And so
number one.
the other book that we have coming out, so the other book is a collaborative book. So you get to hear his side of the story a little bit, and Soul Ties to Soulmates. And that one's a relationship guide. So how did we go from, so I had a huge body count. Leo, on the other hand, did not. He was in stable relationships, but dealt with his addiction in a different way. So you get to hear from a male's perspective and a female's perspective in Soul Ties
that's
to
awesome.
Soulmates.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen a book like that. I heard of one where, husband and wife are going, I don't think so. So that would be a good one. When is that? Do you know when that one's coming out? Is it this year or next year?
That one will probably come out next year. We was trying to get it out this year, but my husband stays so busy. He's very, very active in the community.
He is.
And so getting us to sit down and finish out that book. That book will be in audio form as well as printed form.
Oh, that's great. So let's talk about, I know that you have some things coming up, okay, here shortly. So talk about your next level of getting out there.
Yeah, so I've been secretly stalking some expos for some years, but I was so scared to go out and really spend and invest in those things. And so this year I made the decision with the push of my husband, thank goodness that he's around, to step out. So I'm going to my first expo, the Ultimate Women's Expo, which is going to be in Dallas, Texas. I'm super excited about it. It's one of their largest expos, and so go hard or go home.
That's right.
Is a philosophy I've always been.
That's what's going to happen.
Definitely. I've always been one of those people, I have to jump or I'm not going to do it. And so I'm making this jump. And so I'm going to be talking about heels, how to walk in heels with grace, which is a workshop that I do. But I'm doing a little bit of a twist on it this time. So I'm going to be collaborating with taking my heels workshops, some tips and tricks on how to wear heels, as well as what is that collaboration into my story. So what are those heel tips?
Signify really.
Yeah.
In your story.
Heels have been a symbol of power, symbol of femininity, masculinity, social status. It's been a symbol of so many different things. So what does that look like in your healing journey?
Right.
So allow your heels to heal.
I love that. Well, I'll be a part of that. So it's exciting to go to that. Actually, that was my first time hearing about that. But I get all kinds of stuff, and I don't. If it's out of town, sometimes I don't follow it, but sometimes I do. I've been following someone in Austin, so I'm going to get to go and visit that person, which will be really great. She's doing some amazing things, and she has an organization there of Black women. So I'm going to get a chance to visit her and talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about, because I know you've done some collaborations with the Metro Omaha Women's Business Center. Talk about some of that collaboration as well. So we can see the worldwide, global view of Nicole.
Yeah, so I also do my etiquette training course, which is Habits of a Queen, and that's an 8-week training course. But before I launched that, me and you definitely collaborated. Metro Omaha Women's Business Center has been a place of home, a place of comfort, a place of support, especially for me coming from the background that I come from, where I haven't had a whole lot of women support, and I haven't seen entrepreneur women.
Yeah.
Like every woman that I grew up seeing, they always worked 2 or 3 jobs, and they was always working the grunt jobs. So I didn't get to experience what success really looks like and what I really desire to look forward to. So Metro Omaha Women's Business Center has given me that opportunity. And because of that support, I lend my support as well. So we developed the Ross program, which is a 10-week training course as well. And so I'm super excited about that, because it takes all of these years of experience and boils them down to 10 weeks. You get so much more than just what we say that you're getting, because every class is different.
It is.
And you never know what little tips or tricks is going to come out in that process.
Someone just said, just last week, they said, one thing I noticed that in the classes, there's always those gems that that come out from different experiences, and those help you to grow along with the class. And I agree with that, because I know a lot of times we're imparting our experiences into some of those classes, and our wisdom into some of those classes, and it just allows them to know that, somebody didn't just give us a book and we're doing this. This is things that we've experienced in business, in being a woman, in being a professional. All of that is being poured back into, those 10 weeks of helping people find themselves, because purpose is really important, and how important it is to understand who they are before they jump into a business. But also, once they do, then being able to teach them, from startup, what are the 50 things you need even before you start up. And it's kind of funny, because number 1 on that list is networking, because if you don't network ahead of time before you think you're getting started, you won't have people at your grand opening, okay? Or you'll go and you'll do something like get a space because you filed your business. Don't do that. Don't do that. So if you don't have the information, the great thing is to get it. Come and get it. Invest in yourself and invest in your business so you can be successful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and you're doing a great job. I love that we can collaborate and bring information to our community of women who are starting, which is one of the leading groups of segments that's starting businesses. And starting is fine. A lot of them are not completing, so we got to work on that, And that's some of the statistics that I saw recently, is that a lot of them start. But, when you look at, as opposed to men, how many stay in business? you know.
Definitely. I think that's one of the benefits of MOWBC is that even though we have this 10-week course, we have stuff going on every single month. So we have a monthly breakfast. We have a monthly either a Sip and Learn or Uptown Switch and Connect.
Right.
So it gives other
Success series where we have
Yes.
speakers come in, you know, every quarter. And so I think that we probably have to, because someone asked if you guys still do the speakers. It was like a speaker series, but we called it Success Series. We'd have a speaker come in, and usually it was a 2-hour workshop. And so, you know, the pandemic kind of like opened the door for a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff didn't happen because obviously there was a lot of things going on, and people were trying to survive. You know, so now, you know, I think most businesses and organizations are in that rebuild phase where they're trying to now get back to those numbers before, you know, 2020. The hard thing about that is that a lot of the stuff that was happening back then, a lot of it kind of got wiped away. And so now you kind of like, okay, what do we need to do next? Right? And so, but yeah, not to take that from you, but that's awesome. Thank you so much. And also our YEG program. You've been very instrumental in that YEG program because, you know, this is our young entrepreneur girls. So you can talk a little bit about that because youth is one of your things.
Definitely. So my passion is youth because for me, I feel like that's a starting point. That is that time where you're trying to make that decision in life where you want to go. And watching my daughter, who was one of the first YEG students.
Yeah, that's right.
She wanted to go to Central High School for business. She started being an entrepreneur and watching that very early on. And so she didn't get the platform to be able to do that. And I didn't have all the skill sets because at that time I was a hobbyist. I wasn't an entrepreneur. And so looking at what the YEG program provides is that we provide the building blocks for success. And so we start with that personal development, and then we go into professional development, and then launching their business. So what does that look like?
Yeah.
So, and giving them that opportunity to also mentor underneath women business owners.
Yes.
So what does that look like being in a women's business where maybe it's predominantly men? And so I also have the experience of talking with somebody that got into construction as a woman, and she's like, well, there's no other women in this. You know, this was over 20-something years ago.
Oh, yeah, but now it is. They've taken over the field. There's several organizations that have partnered with MOWBC, and one of them is Women in Construction, and another one is, gosh, I can't think of that other one, but it's initials, and that's what they do as well. And so they go around and they try to find different organizations of women that, so that women know that they could be in this field. I think it's the women of engineers. It's women of engineers, and so that do all kinds of stuff. So we have limited ourselves in so many ways, and really our parents before us, because a lot of them thought that girls had to be pink and flowers and smell good.
Yeah,
that's still important. So not necessarily pink, but. The thing I think is really important is that we have to continue to install in imparting to our young women that you can do anything that you want to do or you put your mind to, but don't go out and just say, I can do it without the education, without some foundation of understanding what that is. And I think that's what we bring to the position to our young entrepreneur girls is that, yes, and our goal in doing that, having them go to women's businesses, is to show them the different types of women in the different types of businesses. And so that there is no limit to what they could do. So that's really important, I think. Yeah. And so I think our whole goal is to jump into math, jump into STEAM, you know, do all this stuff because you are worth it.
Definitely.
You know, and I don't want to say another Me Too movement. I want to say Me Do, right?
Definitely.
So our movement is Me Do, not Me Too, Me Do, because we have the ability to. There's tons of resources, and we don't have to wait till someone says, I'll pick you to do this, and you feel privileged because you're the only one that got to do it. Now you can go out and do it yourself. Go get your education. Go and do the things that you need to do so that when you get into the spot, you'll know what to do when you get there.
And that's one of the biggest things that I'm super excited about. I'm really good about, I want to make sure that I collaborate with as many people as possible because we have to have a holistic view on serving our youth and serving each other, really. And so the greatest thing that I feel like, even as women become entrepreneurs, we start to lose that femininity in the process, which is why I did the Habits of a Queen, because now you need to combine both the YEG program, which is teaching you the entrepreneurship and wealth building, as well as building your femininity up. And what does that look like, having that in those arenas and still being respected?
Yes.
In those arenas.
And not take it for granted, because that, you know, that a lot of times, you know, if you get into the wrong organization or what have you, men will make you feel like you are not worthy of, you know, anything. And so you have to be strong within yourself. You have to know who you are. And that's something, you know, I preach all the time. If you don't know who you are, it's going to be very hard for you to be successful, because you don't know where you should be.
Yeah.
So you have to know your purpose.
There are some natural gifts that women are given that do make us very, very successful. But we have to embrace those natural instincts.
You have to build them too, because they're there and they're dormant until you.
Definitely.
So until you have that purpose, because purpose and those abilities go hand in hand, and you can't find out that they're there unless you know who you are.
Yeah.
So you know, that's kind of what I stand with. But let's talk a little bit more. So you're going to Dallas.
Yes.
And you're going to be speaking, because I think, from what I understand, it's tens of thousands of people that attend that, and you'll have an opportunity to speak.
Definitely.
So that's going to be amazing.
I am super excited about that. I am actually also launching a new product there. As women, we tend to go to these conferences and we want to look cute, right? And cute, most of the time for women, includes wearing...
Short time cute.
Includes wearing heels.
Yeah.
And so my thought was, as I was thinking about how do I walk around in my heels? Because I get asked that all the time. How are you walking in those heels? Ain't your feet hurting? And there's some little things that I've done that I've picked up along the way that help me to be able to last a full 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours in my heels. And I don't wear short heels. I wear...
Yeah, that's crazy.
I wear stiletto heels. So I stand 5'2", and so I want to feel taller, and I want my presence felt. And part of that is how I wear my heels and how I walk in my heels and how I present myself. And I can't do that if I'm in pain. So I can't walk around with a smile on my face and my feet is killing me.
Okay, I hope you have in that box this tip. Wearing heels, for short periods of time, you can be tall, you can look good, and feel good.
Yes.
Wearing heels for a long period of time without getting out of them can also be detrimental to your health.
Definitely. And so that is something that I talk about, is understanding your body. Your feet are your foundation.
Yes.
And so it's really important to take care of your feet.
Yeah.
This is kind of like a side note, but my kids, as they were growing up, kids always seem to argue with each other, right? And parents come up with creative ways for them to get along. And so for my kids, when they was arguing with each other, they had to give each other pedicures. And that was part of teaching them, A, that your feet are your foundation, B, it's a service to another person.
Yes.
And then C,
important.
they understand the power of just loving on somebody and having loving touch without it being sexual, without there being something else attached to it, and just learning how to love on somebody else.
Somebody else, yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's really good, because I notice a lot of times when siblings are fighting, and parents sometimes just let them fight, I'm thinking, that's not really teaching them anything. When my kids would get into arguments, I would stand in the middle of them, you know, and I would say, okay, so what's this about? What he did or what she did? I said, okay, where is it? You know, who has the object at this time? Because they're usually fighting over something. I put it over there, probably threw it over there, you know. I said, well, let's grab that. I said, who does that object belong to? Well, it belongs to her. So why do you have it? Well, because the other day she took my... So that was kind of things. I said, okay, I want you guys to hug right now. That was the worst thing they could do. You know, you know, when you say, I want you to hug, I said, it's all about love and affection. I don't want to hug. Do you rather have the paddle? Because I grew up in a house that said that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child, okay? And I wasn't trying to have spoiled children. So I said, you have a choice. You can hug your sister or your brother with love, and then you can go to each other's corner and sit. And a lot of times, they didn't want the paddle. I think only one challenged me on the paddle. There's always one. There's always one in the bunch. But most of the time, they would hug and they'd go and then it'd be okay. But the one that challenged me one day with the paddle, when the paddle came out, she was like, that's all right. I'm going to hug. So, but I think it was smart. I think she thought, and that was my way to show her who was in charge, because, kids they'll do that. But anyway, I think that's really good to show them about service, about love, and about respect. And I think a lot of times we don't have enough of that today. And that's what's wrong with everything.
Definitely.
Any parting words for the audience today?
Well, I'll end with the name of my company is I Love Me. And I teach that because we don't say that enough to each other. So I love me and I love you.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Well, I really love you being here on the show today. I'm looking forward to our road trip. Nah, boo-boo. Anyway, this has been the Business Connection. And as you know, we talk a lot about business. We talk about, when we interview different owners, we're just kind of bringing them to you. And just showing you that if you haven't started and you want to, there are so many places to go. I'm BC Clark. I'm with the Business Connection. My website is www.thebusinessconnectionany.com. My phone number is 402-763-0540. You can get Nicole's information that will be on our website as well. So it's great. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time.